XRP has fallen by 15.26% since the 7th of August. But is it as bad as a lot of people are fearing, or is there actually a little bit more to the story than we think? In today's video, I am going to be taking a look at XRP's price action. We'll take a look at the smaller timeframes, the 1, the 4 hour, up to the medium timeframes such as the daily, and of course talk about the bigger macro picture as well on the daily, weekly, and monthly. As I get into today's video, do smash that like button. I'd really appreciate that. If you're new, subscribe, and let's get right down into today's video. So let's kick things off on the smaller time frame. So here we have kind of what's been going on in the last couple of days. You can really see this downward price pressure for XRP. It's got an overlapping structure to it, so it does look a little alarming from an outsiding perspective, and I don't think we're necessarily done just yet. Taking a look at this most recent price action from Saturday through to Sunday, where we saw a significant move to the downside here at 9.47% on Saturday 1300 UTC to Sunday 2200 UTC. Now this move to the downside is interesting. If we take our fibs and we measure up all these distances, we can see that we have got ourselves an impulsive break to the downside. This move to the downside is quite interesting, at least from my point of view. I want to just do ahead and make sure that everything is, of course, aligning to Elliott wave theory. A lot of people won't bother with the measuring. They'll kind of just tell you it's an impulsive breakdown and all that kind of stuff. But it's important to actually note that a wave through must exceed 1.618. If it does not exceed 1.618, there's only really a handful of other options that allow it to be a wave 3, and most of those are diagonals or contracting and expanding diagonals, those kind of things. Now in this particular instance, we can see here that we do have an impulsive breakdown with this impulsive and extension into a wave 5. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So we have a little 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 like this. And all of that is a wave 3. So you have your 1, your 2, your 3, and we're currently up into the 4, meaning that we should expect that final 5th wave move to the downside. Now, obviously with a 5th wave move to the downside on this smaller time frame, this is something that's probably just going to happen. And a lot of people won't even notice it. It'll be kind of down and then just, kind of bounce back quite quickly. But it's important to note that it's there because this builds up into a bigger picture of what's going on the larger time frames. Okay, so that is where we're currently looking here. We're looking to finish this off in a 5-wave pattern, and it kind of goes hand in hand with what we've seen over here, for example, where we have another idea of an impulsive breakdown here, also indicating an idea of a zigzag. But again, this one doesn't appear to hit those 1.618 target ranges. Again, we use the fibs to correspond that, but we can see as well it only hits 1.618 at this low point. Now, it's possible, of course, that this structure that we've mapped over this side is a part of a 5th wave movement that's overextended, but it's very unlikely. And there's lots of reasons and rationale behind that. I'm not going to bore you guys with all the details of it, but for the most part, this to me looks like a, how do I articulate, a 335 kind of corrective structure. Okay, so when this completes, I will be looking for a big run to the upside, in my opinion. Obviously, the bigger, broader crypto market may have other plans, but that's going to be what we're talking about. So on the smaller timeframes here for XRP, we're going to target out this lower range between 1.236 and 1.618, basically 53.26 to 54 cent. How would I trade it? Well, I'll be trading it using Bluefin or BitGet, my two go-to platforms when it comes to leverage trades. If you haven't already got accounts over on BitGet, for example, go check it out. Linked is in the description below. Bluefin as well. Fantastic platforms, easy to use, and really intuitive, so even new users can really get the hang of it pretty quickly. As we come back in here, how would I trade it? Well, I'll be looking for a short position, okay, and I would be looking at the 200 hourly EMA as our major resistances here. So I would be looking to kind of go short with around this area here. Stop loss probably above that 50 EMA there, and we'll target out our lower range here. This gives us a 7.28 risk reward ratio. So if we wanted to be extra safe, we can even put that above the 50 SMA here on the 1 hour time frame as well. 3.26 risk reward ratio. Basically, you'll get $3.26 for every $1 of risk. That's actually what that is. And you can see here that you'd have your take profit around 54.03. If I were to do that, I'd be doing it on BitGet personally, or Bluefin. They're my two go-to exchanges. So that would be how I would approach the kind of hourly chart. Okay, on the 4 hour time frame, we can see as well more volatility to be expected, but this time it's looking for a bounce to the upside of the stochastic RSI. So we come down and then we look to go long. So it does look to me like this is an area where we're going to be looking for a long position on XRP, but not before we finish that 5th wave movement to the downside, in my humble opinion. Okay, I'm going to go clear this off so we don't confuse those different time frames. So what's going on here? Well, we have a very interesting corrective structure here. It actually starts on this slightly higher range. And if we take this into consideration, we've already met minimum expectation. We've bounced from the 0.786 here on the fib charts, and we'd have that ability to come down just a fraction more towards the 1-to-1. Okay, so it aligns with the idea of that final fifth wave movement being the area to kind of be trading for a long position. So I'll be looking to go long at that lower range. Stop loss, I'll be looking for keeping it reasonably deep, because we do think there's going to be support in and around this area here. So I'd probably put it just lower than that previous swing low that we had on the 7th of August at 1200 hours UTC. And I would be targeting out some of these upper areas of resistance on the chart, which is previous area of support. So I'll be looking at that range of around 59.8, and it'll be a risk reward ratio of about 1.76. So if I was to go long, that's where I would be doing it as well. I wouldn't be going long just yet, in my opinion. Now, as we kind of come up into those larger time frames, we can really take into consideration where XRP is. I've kind of spoken about this a number of times. Here on the daily chart, we're bouncing between the highs and the lows, right? We have kind of met minimum expectation on the Y wave low, but it is still technically possible that we have more volatility and we still slip further to the downside. A lot of people are hopeful that we are reversing up here, and rightfully so. This can be a fourth wave move, by the way, but it's very unlikely to be that way. I actually expect this to be more of a three-wave structured move to the upside rather than any five-wave impulsive structures. And we are still thinking about that idea, that potential breakout between 75 and 84 cents. We haven't kind of broken through there just yet, but I do think that is something that we have to kind of consider. This is a part of a much bigger play. Now, it's possible that we're still in a big correction to the downside. In here, where we have that initial volatility and we come down again and we test out that range around 41.8 cent. That's possible, right? But that's actually a part of a much bigger play, which we can see right inside here, which will take us out into that breakout situation just up here. So we are looking for a breakout. We are looking for that big run to the upside. It's just going to take a lot longer than maybe people are willing to kind of acknowledge or expect. Now, it's possible that this X wave has already completed, but it's also equally possible that it hasn't. So we want to keep in mind that it's possible for this to continue decreasing before we actually get that breakout. But our breakout is targeting at the moment between 74.3 and 84.6. That's going to be the range that we're looking for here for XRP on the kind of daily time frame. Okay, so that's kind of where we sit with that. Now, on a larger macro kind of scale for XRP, there's lots of things to kind of consider. Okay, we want to consider the fact that we are of course stuck between this higher range between 66.13 and 75 cents and that lower range between 33.46 and 46.16. Essentially, basically, when price comes down, it bounces up, and when prices comes up to this higher range, it gets rejected and goes down. At the moment, we're back above the 200-week EMA, which is good, and we're basically trying to find support on the 50-week SMA as well. So these are some good positions. You can also see here that the market is quite indecisive. With these large wicks on both sides of the argument last week, we can see that there's an indecisive market. Market doesn't know to go down or to go up. Basically, it's kind of like a dojo. It's not quite a dojo candle. It's got a bit of a body to it, but it gives you the idea that the market is very much undecided as to where XRP is likely to go. Now, obviously, it's been heavily driven from market overview like Bitcoin and Ethereum and what's going on with those guys. But for the most part, on the weekly time frame, not a lot's really gone on. We've seen some decent price action off the back of kind of a little bit of clarity around what's going on with Ripple versus the SEC, 72.27% from our low here on the 1st of July up to the high that we had on the 29th of July, right? So 72.27%, it isn't bad over a period of time like that. Now, if I come over into our USD pairing on Bitstamp rather than on Binance, there's a lot of speculation around this particular pattern that's been seen many, many times over. Now, the problem here is that because it's happened before doesn't guarantee that it's going to happen again. For example, there's a few here that people have kind of drawn and put over social media, kind of building up all the hype around, what's going on and all that kind of stuff. There's an idea that this is going to basically be a phenomenal breakout and it's going to be massive to the upside. Yes, I agree, a breakout is coming, and it is going to be something very similar to what we saw in 2017, in my humble opinion. But there is a lot to consider here in the background. Now, for the most part, Elliott Wave theory tells us that this is a very interesting time, as we've been unable to break a 2017 high back here in May of 2021. We have to consider there's a potential for a breakdown before you get a break to the upside. A lot of people kind of are fed up with XRP not really doing a lot, and if this lawsuit comes to an end with very minimal consequences or appeals from the SEC, that kind of stuff, and we get clarity and we still see no major kind of price action, I think a lot of people are going to abandon ship, and that could be a big catalyst for a lot of sell pressure to drag this price to the downside. A lot of people will call them weak hands and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't really matter. People are entitled to do whatever they feel is right. Now, the positives are that this could potentially have completed down here in March of 2020, and actually we're just waiting for that next big break to the upside. But here's the problem that we have with that. This next break to the upside, if it follows Elliott Wave theory principles, then we are going to be between $5 and $10. That's going to be the range where that's going to more than likely finish, which will be a lot shorter than what a lot of people believe XRP is likely to do. As you can kind of see here, it's a new all-time high, but it's not going to be that kind of level of phenomenal growth that we saw from the 2017 run. And the reason for that is that, a lot of people kind of want to copy these bars and say they're going to do exactly the same. They're going to measure that distance from the low side to the high side, and maybe they'll copy all the bars and basically go ahead and pull that over here and say, look, we're coming all the way up here, it's going to be phenomenal, $124 minimum, yada yada yada. But actually, the reality of the situation is that the structures here and the relationships between traders buying and selling and where XRP's position today is, more than likely the most of that resistance is going to be met between $5 and $9.93. Okay, so that's going to be an interesting point to keep in mind. Now, it's possible, of course, that we overextend, we may reach $10, $15, maybe even like $16 to $20. Those things are possible for sure, but I don't think we're going to really be able to push the boundaries much further than that without some real phenomenal amounts of adoption of XRP. So we'd have to see a lot of institutional players coming in and actually utilizing XRP, making it a lot more liquid and basically creating huge imbalances between supply and demand. So actually make it illiquid, to be more specific about it. So for XRP, it's an interesting time. I think we've got some pretty decent price predictions. There's definitely some interesting parts where we could see XRP potentially rallying in the future. But you guys can let me know what your thoughts are on all of this in the comments below, and join us in our free Discord linked in the description down below. Where do you think XRP is going to be heading by the time this bull market comes to an end? Let me know down below. Guys, if you found it useful, smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one.